This is just how we are as humans. Immediately makes me feel nervous and anxious. Prolonged silence here, an off comment here. I can't achieve what I want to achieve, and maybe I should just quit before I've even started. When I first started my entrepreneurship journey, I would share every single detail of what I was doing in my businesses with anyone who would listen. I was just so excited to actually be doing something that I was so passionate about that the positive energy was like bubbling up inside me, and I wanted to share it and spread it out into the world. But unbeknownst to me, every time I shared a goal or an idea or something about my business, I would get an array of unsolicited advice or opinions or reactions. And everyone does it, but it definitely stings the most when it comes from the people who are closest to you. My family and friends weren't like saying mean comments and belittling me and putting me down. It wasn't like that at all. It was more like subtle things: prolonged silence here, an off comment here, a negative statement here. Just a range of different comments and reactions that often made me feel anxious or bad, or just dimmed the light that I felt inside. Now, please do not get me wrong. My family and friends are the most loving, the most kind, the most supportive people. If you guys are watching this, I love you to death. You have supported me to no end. I would not be here without you. Please don't get this twisted. But this is just something that I think everyone goes through, and I very likely have also done it to my friends and my family without noticing. But this is such an important thing that I think if you're on the receiving end, you need to know how to manage it. And the story often goes like this: I have an idea and then I run to someone. I share the idea, and upon hearing it, they react in one of three ways. They either respond with criticism, which immediately fills me with self-doubt, or they start to question and pick apart the idea, which immediately makes me feel nervous and anxious and like I can't achieve what I want to achieve, and maybe I should just quit before I've even started. Or they respond in a monotone way that's just kind of like, yeah, okay, cool, and that dampens my excitement, and to be honest with you, that one hurts the most. But pretty much any type of reaction, even the positive ones, would end up affecting my business decisions, my level of motivation, my self-belief. Literally almost everything was impacted in some way. Sometimes the reactions would make me want to quit. Sometimes they would give me a motivational boost not to quit. So there were definitely some positives to this as well. You know, sometimes I would get into my head and overthink things, and speaking to someone close to me about it would definitely help me get out of that space and keep pushing forward. So it wasn't all bad. It just ended up having too much power over my business decisions, my self-belief, my motivation. And especially when your idea or goal or whatever it is in the early stages, it's a really fragile state and it needs to be protected. So over time, I started to share less and less with the people around me. But I also came to learn that this is just human nature. It's not necessarily a bad thing. This is just how we are as humans. When someone tells us something, we often want to give our advice or opinion, especially if it's someone we love. And I was completely unrealistic in expecting that every single person I went to with my idea would be just as excited about it as I was. And this doesn't happen because the people we love are bad people or they don't want the best for us. Not at all. It's really quite the opposite. Over time, as I kept going through this loop of excited to not excited to excited to not excited, I came to learn the following three things. The first one was that certain people will always give me certain responses. If I want a logical response, I need to go to the logical person. If I want an excited response, I need to go to the excited person, because the logical person may be super pessimistic and they may not give me the response that I need in that moment. And it sounds so obvious not to do this, but I kept going to the same people expecting a different response. If person A is a pessimist and they've shown me 100 times before that they are pessimistic, how can I go to them and expect an optimistic response? It didn't make any sense. It was nonsensical. I learned that each person around me has their strengths, and when it came to talking about my goals, I can only expect their strength in that moment and nothing else. The second thing I came to learn was that just because someone reacts in a way that I didn't expect, it doesn't mean that they think my idea is stupid or that I'm not capable. I needed to really learn how to separate my ego from other people's reactions, and the people closest to us have by far the most power and influence over how we feel. So if someone you love or someone I love craps all over our idea, then it just obviously you're going to feel bad. But what's to say that their reaction has anything to do with the viability of your idea or your capability in being able to pursue that idea? As you probably know by now, everyone is just walking around projecting their own subconscious insecurities onto everyone else. So I learned to over time detach not only my ego from the idea, but also my ego from people's response to the idea. And this is infinitely more important when the person that you're speaking to has never achieved what you want to achieve or has never experienced experience what you want to experience. And by learning to separate my ego from their reactions, I really gave my ideas more room to flourish and grow. And that's really not to say that people's opinions or advice or comments or reactions don't matter, because they do. It's just to say that not every single reaction that you're going to receive is going to be a useful or valuable one. And that doesn't mean that you need to only listen to the positive ones. Don't just listen to the positive ones. I just mean you need to distinguish between what's useful and what's not useful. And the final thing I learned is that people are limited by their experiences. I cannot expect a lifelong chef to be able to give me valuable, good insights about what it takes to run a health tech startup, for example. Our loved ones have really different experiences to us. Just like they can't give you valuable information on what you're doing, you probably can't give them valuable information on what they're doing, unless you're both in the same industry and sector, which is not often the case. Sometimes you do get really valuable insights out of sharing things with your loved ones, but it's usually specific people and in specific circumstances, and not everyone has that privilege. I would say for most of us, we tend to have not so productive conversations around these things with our loved ones. So before sharing a goal or an idea, I've now started to ask myself, why am I sharing this goal or idea with this specific person? What do I hope to get out of this conversation, and can that person deliver on that hope? If not, is there a better person to speak to about this? As I learned to shift my expectations and my approach, I started to be less affected by certain negative comments or reactions. And this has really helped me keep momentum going for some abnormal ideas or things that I wanted to do, because I was able to protect them from people who were likely to crap all over them and kill them. So if you're experiencing something like this now or in the future, try not to take it so personally. The opinions of our loved ones are super valuable, that's a given, but they're usually not subject matter experts on the things that we want to do in life. So try not to let their opinions on these things interfere with your relationship with them or with the goals that you're trying to achieve. And please don't ever think that your goals are too big or too unachievable just because the people around you have not achieved the same thing. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this story. I write a lot of stories like this for my weekly newsletter. If you want to subscribe, I've put the link below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me again, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye!